What's up everybody? Today's video we're going to be doing the Zul'Farrak Graveyard farm as a Paladin. Let's level up. Now this farm can be done as early as level 40. So while I am doing this at level 46 plus, I will also be showing you the route to be doing it at level 40. However, before we check the different routes, let's look at gear. You'll see my gear is not at all optimal, but it just shows that you do not have to have everything optimized for this. For your stat priority, you primarily want spell damage and intellect, followed by MP5 or spirit, and then stamina. If you will be buying gear from the auction house, look for items with the affix of the eagle or of the owl. Of the owl provides intellect and spirit. Of the eagle provides intellect and stamina. Your stamina is the lowest priority. You want to have around 2000 HP to allow you to soak some hits on the way to the graveyard. While I do not recommend strength, it is not entirely useless as it increases the amount of damage that can be blocked with a shield, which will allow you to soak more hits on the way to the graveyard. For enchants, the only one I would recommend is minor speed increase on boots. You can also go with the Pursuit of Justice talent instead, but that would require you to trade off several defensive talents, which would most likely just land you in the wrong graveyard. Just get the enchants. You'll make the build back in no time. For talents, the most important ones are your defensive talents and consecration. This is my recommended build at level 40. You'll see I have 1 point in Guardian's favor, which decreases the cooldown of your Blessing of Protection. The shorter cooldown is just for emergencies. I also have Blessing of Kings. I usually buff this during the run to the graveyard and during the setup just for the extra health. From here you want to get 1 additional point in Guardian's favor to further decrease the cooldown of your Blessing of Protection. Unyielding Faith to decrease your chance to be disoriented. Improved Lay on Hands, as Lay on Hands also restores mana if you use it when you're out of mana. And finally, Improved Blessing of Wisdom for the increased mana return. This is what your build will look like by level 47. This is however not required, but rather just my recommendation. As you can see, the build I've been using here is much different and it got the job done. Next, let's look at consumables. I want to preface this section by mentioning that none of these consumables are required, unless you're doing this between level 40 and level 42, in which event you will require both types of the invisibility potions mentioned to get to the graveyard. To start, we have mana potions. I recommend getting the greater mana potions. They are relatively cheap and great value for money. I usually use 3 to 4 per run and still turn a profit. Superior mana potions are also an option, but they are generally 3 to 4 times the price of a greater mana potion. Then we have bombs. Easy Throw Dynamite 2 is usable by non-engineers and helps with pulls, as I will demonstrate later. Both the Lesser Invisibility Potion and Invisibility Potion are required if you're doing this between level 40 and 42, as you will have a different route to the graveyard. Next, we have Spell Power Elixirs. Arcane Elixir is the cheaper one, which provides 20 spell power, being about 1 extra damage per consecration tick. Greater Arcane Elixir is the more expensive one, which provides 35 spell power. Also for spell power, we have Weapon Whales. Wizard Whale provides 24 spell power, again being about 1 extra damage per consecration tick. Brilliant Wizard Whale provides 36 spell power and 1 additional spell crit, but consecration cannot crit. While the damage increase of the Weapon Whales and Elixirs may seem insignificant, getting 4 to 6 consecration ticks per mob per consecration, it really shows. Just to take note of the increased level requirements on the Brilliant Wizard Whale and the Greater Arcane Elixir. Finally, we have the one that saved me countless times while learning this farm. Swiftness Potion. This is for those run forest run moments. Next, let's look at the route to get to the graveyard. First, I'll show you the general route. I do not recommend using the general route below level 43, as it's too easy to make a mistake and end up in the wrong graveyard. Then I'll show you some additional reset points which I am aware of. These you can use on a bad pull or to create your own preferred route. Thereafter, I'll show you the route to take to at level 40, until you reach level 43. Let's start on the general route. From the entrance I go right, here behind these 3 cubes. Then I run straight between these packs. Depending on your level, you might pull these packs, but if you have enough distance, then they won't pose a threat. Then we go straight here. Now it's important to note that if a mob hits you from behind, then you can get dismounted. Accordingly, you want to be strafing, or at the very least face the mob slightly as they hit you. For this reason, you'll see me do a jump turn from time to time. If you do get slapped off your mount, you want to use bubble and get to the closest reset point. Also remember that at lower levels, you will pull these mobs sooner than I do in this video. As we're exiting this passageway, you want to stick to the left to get some distance between you and the pack on the right. At lower levels, they will be pulled. If you need a reset point, do also note that there is one to the right. We will look at this in the additional reset points section. Continue sticking to the left as you exit and run up here. Here we will jump to get over this wall. Be ready though, as there will be a basilisk on the other side. Once we're over the wall, we want to stay to the right to get some distance from the basilisk. We'll then pass over this wall and stick to the left. Be careful of the pack on your right. Again, get some distance. Then we're going through this passage. Try to hug the wall of this passage a bit to minimize hits from this pack. Be careful not to run into the wall and get stuck for a split second. Upon exiting the passage, we'll be going left and making a run to the first reset point, which is between these 2 cubes here. Approaching the first reset point, be careful of these mobs. They will hit you, so be sure to strafe or face them as you get hit. If you are dismounted, just run into the reset point. If needed, heal up while waiting for the mobs to reset. It is to be noted that there will be 2 patrolling mobs who walk down this road. If you're below level 45, they will target you as soon as they get around here, as they will have a direct line of sight to you. While the other mobs will still reset, the patrolling mobs will not reset if they are here. If you are dismounted in the reset point and you get targeted by the patrol while they are here, you will need to try to run to the next reset point with bubble and a swiftness potion if you have one. This may not always work. For this reason, I suggest that you stay mounted in the reset point if you see a patrol approaching, and as soon as the other mobs reset, rush to the next reset point and rather heal up there. If the patrol social aggroed as they do here, they will still reset along with the other mobs. Once the mobs have reset, we will make our way to the next reset point. Mount up if you aren't and if you can, and exit the reset point at the back like this. Once you're just past this pillar, you want to start crossing the path. We primarily want to get some distance between us and the pack on the left, as that pack usually has more melee mobs, whereas the mobs along the wall on the right are often casters. We will then follow this route and go behind this broken pillar. Once we're past the broken pillar, we will go up this mount and then jump onto this vase. From the vase, we will jump down and run behind this vase. Here you can heal up while you wait for the mobs to reset. Be careful though, as a patrol can come from behind this dune and walk all the way along the path to here. At lower levels, if the patrol reaches here, it will see you and it will not reset. If the patrol sees you and you are dismounted, wait for the other mobs to reset, then run past the patrol and stun it with Hammer of Justice before booting it to the next reset point. Use bubble on the way if you get low. From here, if you're mounted, it's an easy run to the next reset point. We'll go straight here and then to the left and to the left. Okay, anyway, we'll go straight down this passage until we get to the Scarab room. In this room, we have 2 reset points. The first one is here. Just jump between the vase and the wall, then onto the vase, and then into this crack in the wall. Like this. The boss patrols around this room. At low levels, when he gets here, he will target you. Don't worry, he will actually reset. Just give it a few. The other reset spot we will look at in the additional reset spot section, but it is on a small block that is here. From here, we mount up, and then once the boss has passed, we run into this passage. It is then a straight run into the graveyard. Once we get into the graveyard, we will take a right and jump from this corner onto this platform. This is also a reset spot. If the mobs are too close, they can take a while to reset, so just jump up this statue and onto the wall, like this. Or not like that, but like this. Congratulations, you're in the graveyard. Now, next, let's quickly look at the additional reset spots that you can stop by if need be. We have 2 additional reset points before the general route's first reset point. When exiting the first passage, stay left to avoid pulling the pack on the right. Then cross over the path and jump onto this face. Casters will continue to cast spells for a short while before resetting if you're on the base, so throw a few heals on yourself. When the mobs have reset, look for patrols. Note that you cannot mount from the vase. Once the way is safe, jump off the vase, mount up, then go back and jump over the wall as you would on the general route. Alternatively, if you are still mounted or if you have a swiftness potion, you can run up this mound here and then jump onto this wall. From this mound, you want to jump over the smaller section and onto the wall. Take note that this jump cannot be done without either a mount or a speed increase. You can also not mount while on this wall. Once the mobs have reset, ensure the way is safe, then jump down, mount up, go back and jump over the wall there and just follow the general route. As previously mentioned, the Scarab Room also has a second reset point. Simply jump onto this block and wait until the mobs reset. In the graveyard, if you're struggling with the jump in the corner, you can instead jump up here. For the level 40 to 43 route, you will require a lesser invisibility potion and an invisibility potion. From the entrance, we'll go behind these 3 cubes. We'll pop our lesser invisibility potion here, and we'll take the route I'm taking here. Make sure you use the lesser invisibility potion for this one. We need the other one's longer duration for the second skip. Once you get here, you will run up between this mound and the wall, and jump a few times to get on top of this wall. You want to be faster than I was there. Once on top, make your way to the end. And then wait here for the 2 patrols to pass. Once they have passed, jump down and mount up. Be careful not to pull the pack on the right. If you do pull it, run to the vase reset spot as shown in the additional reset spot section. Once mounted, run up this mound, and then jump onto this wall. Now we will wait for the invisibility potion's cooldown to finish. It should be nearly done as it does not share a cooldown with the lesser invisibility potion. Once the cooldown has finished, proceed to drop here and then mount up. We will be dropping from this spot, and as we're falling, we will use our invisibility potion. Be sure to just fall normally. Do not jump as you will suffer fall damage and you will break your invisibility potion. Then run along this route as far as you can before the invisibility potion ends. Once it ends, you will pull multiple mobs. Use bubble if needed, and just keep running to the reset spot. Once in the reset spot, spam yourself with heals if any mobs are attacking you, while you wait for the mobs to reset. If this patrol reaches here, it will pull, and it will not reset. When the other mobs have reset, we will run to the next reset spot. As you exit the reset spot, stun the patrol mob with Hammer of Justice if it pulled, and then run along this route. If the patrol mob did not pull, you will want to mount up before doing this run. If you get low, use your bubble or Blessing of Protection. Once you get here, jump onto these skulls. The mobs will not melee you while you're on it. And then proceed to jump onto the vase and into the crack in the wall. You'll wait here for the mobs to reset. Once reset, mount up and run to the graveyard along this route. When you get to this corner, jump onto this platform to reset the mobs. Now that we are all in the graveyard, there are a few things to note. First, note that these two mobs periodically patrol into the graveyard. Do not open the graves while these mobs are here. If you will be using bombs for the pool, as you will see I do, avoid pulling the patrols with the bombs. The patrols will not social aggro from the zombies. If for any reason you have to reset the zombies after you've pulled, note that I have seen it happen that they somehow followed me onto this wall. If this happens to you, just jump onto this wall and come here. They will reset after a short while. Quick shout out to this spot and to this spot. Let's just say that if you fall down either, you will be stuck. If you're new to this farm, I suggest you spend at least 5 minutes practicing the kill phase. To practice the kill phase, come here. This spot and this pillar are very important. First, memorize this spot. This is where you will drop your consecration. I use these lines, which look almost like arrows, as reference points. You will pass 2 of these arrows and then you will drop your consecration either on this line or on this line, depending on the positioning of the mobs. Once you've dropped your consecration, you'll run to the pillar and then jump over to the other wall. Take a few minutes to practice dropping your consecration, then running to the jump pillar, jumping to the other wall, jumping back, and then repeating. Before talking about opening the graves, there's a few additional things to take note of. First is this area here. You can drop a second consecration here from time to time. After dropping your consecration at the first spot, you'll run to the jump pillar, jump over to the other wall, then run to the second spot, as demonstrated here. Once here, you ideally want to wait for the mobs to reach this pillar here, and then boot it back to the jump pillar. You will then jump over to the other wall and run to the first spot and drop your consecration again. Practice this a few times. Important to note is that there is a patrol consisting of 2 mobs and a basilisk, which goes near the second spot. At lower levels, you will pull this patrol. So keep an eye out for this patrol and don't go near the second spot if the patrol is there. It would be good to practice this jump too. First, we jump onto this platform. Then we jump onto the first statue. And from the statue, we jump onto the wall. We will use this during the pull, and you will have to do it fast as this is also a reset spot, meaning that if you take too long, the mobs will reset. Okay, now let's talk about opening the graves. We will open the graves in 3 sets. This is the first set. Do not worry about opening these 2, as they will be opened automatically when we pull the boss. Take note of this vase. Behind it is a reset spot. This is the second set. At lower levels, I suggest skipping this one. This is the third set. After opening each set, we will reset the mobs. Note that we will start by pulling the boss. We do this so that the zombies will run to the boss when you open the graves. If you do not pull the boss, the zombies will hit you immediately upon opening the grave. Let's open the graves. Once the patrols are out of the room, drop down here and then pull the boss. Then proceed to open the first set of graves while making your way to the reset spot behind the vase. Wait here for the mobs to reset. Once they have reset, proceed to open the next set of graves. When you've opened them, use bubble or bop and run to the next reset spot. Once the mobs have reset, position yourself here. You will then proceed to open the third set of graves while making your way back to the reset spot. Use bubble or bop if the mobs get too close to you. We will then jump up the statue and onto the wall and wait for the mobs to reset. Also note that jumping onto this wall causes the mobs to lose sight of you, meaning they reset faster. Once the mobs have reset, we will jump between this mound and this wall to get onto this wall. And then we will pull the boss by standing here. We pull the boss the second time to open the one grave we skipped. After pulling the boss, we will reset it by standing here. While waiting for the boss to reset, we will prepare for the pull. Buff yourself with Blessing of Wisdom. We use Blessing of Wisdom to regenerate more mana, which allows us to use Consecration continuously. Remember that Blessing of Protection is a blessing, meaning that if you use Bop at any point, it will override Blessing of Wisdom, and you will have to rebuff yourself with Blessing of Wisdom after Bop is finished. Also use any elixirs or weapon oils you may have bought, and use any scrolls which you may have looted in a previous run. Last thing to note before the pull is that the grey and red zombies do not social aggro off each other. This means that if you pull a red zombie, it will not pull the grey zombies, and vice versa. Okay, let's start the pull. Position yourself around here. Use Exorcism rank 1 on a grey zombie at the back to ensure it pulls all the other grey zombies here. Do not use it on a red zombie. Alternatively, use a bomb to pull both grey and red zombies. Just make sure that you have one of each in the bomb's radius. Once we pulled, we will run along this path. On the way, you can also pull any zombies by the boss's room with Exorcism. As you can see, the mobs are social aggroing some of the others. If you pull the boss, do not worry. Just continue running down this path fast and then jump onto the other wall. Doing so will reset the boss. Once the mobs get close, jump back to this wall, then run and pull any other zombies which are in range with Exorcism. Once you've pulled all the zombies in range, jump back and forth between these two walls a bit. This helps with stacking the mobs. When the mobs are relatively stacked, and if there are any mobs left which did not get pulled, wait for the mobs to come close while on this wall, and then jump down. Pull the remaining mobs with Exorcism before running to this reset spot. Again, you must do this jump quick, else you risk resetting the mobs. From here, run to the jump pillar, and once the mobs start getting close, jump over to the other wall. Just keep jumping between these two walls to stack up the mobs a bit. Do not use Consecration until you stack up all the mobs. If they're being stubborn, you can also use Bubble to sack them. Simply allow the larger group to come close, use Bubble, throw a Consecration, and when there's 2 seconds left on your bubble, jump over to the other wall. With the mob stacked, we will start the kill phase. As can be seen, I run to the first spot and drop Consecration. Then when they come close to the edge of my Consecration, I jump to the next wall, causing them to run back through the Consecration and take additional ticks. At the start, while I have a lot of mana, I use the second spot a few times. I position myself to run away, tilt my camera to see when they get to this pillar, and as soon as they get to that pillar, I start to run and then drop a Consecration. Once they reach this pillar, I jump back to the other wall, causing them to run back through my Consecration again and take additional ticks. This I rinse and repeat a few times. If the mobs get too close while you're on this wall, drop down around here and run up here. If you do this, you can also drop a Consecration on the second spot on your way back to the jump pillar. Rinse and repeat this route until the mobs get low. Once you start damaging the mobs, ensure that they are damaged at least once every 15 seconds, even if just with a rank 1 Consecration. The reason for this is that the XP awarded by each mob resets to its current health percentage if it is not damaged for about 15 to 20 seconds. This means that if a mob is at 20% and you do not damage it for 15 to 20 seconds, then it will only award 20% of its normal XP. So if you ever see that a mob only awarded like 120 XP, know that you messed up. Be sure to use mana potions early. Do not wait until you're I usually use one at 60% mana and then use one on cooldown. If you run out of mana, only drop Consecration at one spot. By the time you lap back to that spot, you should have regenerated enough mana to drop another. If you fall down the wall or you get hit and dazed, use Bubble or Bop. Remember to rebuff Wisdom if you used Bop or if Wisdom expires. Rinse and repeat this route until the mobs get low. When the mobs get low, they will be slowed. Use your Consecration effectively to ensure you get several ticks on the mobs while they are slowed. If there's only 3 to 4 mobs left with low health, you can just run in and melee them down. They will die quickly. Here you will see I also did not damage one mob for longer than 15 seconds, and only got 89 XP for it. Once you killed all the mobs, loot them and then Hearthstone. Remember to set your Hearthstone to Gadget Dan. Alternatively, if your Hearthstone is on cooldown, just pull some random mobs and let them send you to the other graveyard. You can reset the instance while running back. If you go with the latter option, just remember to repair after every few runs. As you learn the farm, you will become very familiar with the mob's pathing. If something feels off, trust it, and rather play it safe. Be especially careful not to run prematurely when the mobs are slowed. If the mobs feel a bit close, either turn back or stay on the edge and do not pass the first line. Trust me. That's it. Thank you for watching. Like this video if you found this guide helpful, and subscribe if you would like more guides like this. If you want any further information, or if there are any other specific farming guides you would like me to make, drop a comment. See you in the next one.